Hey guys, welcome back to Ripe Stories. Imagine discovering someone bold enough to break into your property, use your expensive EV charger like it is their personal gas station, and act like they own the place and your electricity. I caught them red-handed stealing my electricity, but my revenge plan backfired in the most unexpected way possible. And the first story is titled, "There's a moving truck blocking my driveway and I have to leave for a wedding." This story, as well as the others, are from r/Legaladvice. The location is New York, so the renters next door are moving out. Their U-Haul is one of the big effers and it's blocking 75% of my driveway. There's no room to go around it and my car cannot make it up the curb. I'm going to a wedding today, it's a little over 100 miles away and I need to be on the road in about an hour. I'm gonna take an Uber up there if necessary and will probably have to do the same to get from my hotel to the venue and back. I'm hoping to catch a ride home with someone in the morning, but don't like the odds. So that's probably gonna be another Uber. Looks like this will cost a little north of $500, which is not a life-altering expense, but I don't intend to shrug my shoulders and eat it. So what I've done in order, starting around 9 AM, knocked on the door, no answer, tried the same a couple more times since then, but still no answer. Called the homeowner and he gave me 2 numbers. I left voicemails and sent texts to both, but no response. He is also trying to get a hold of these a-holes, but nothing yet. Called the police, said they will send somebody over. They have not sent somebody over, so I called a few towing companies. The first 2 did not even have the right equipment to move this type of truck. The third sent a guy out to take a look. Same issue, but he said that they would not be able to get the truck linked up either way because it is parked about a foot behind a full dumpster. Just wonderful. I took about 7,000 pictures of the truck / my driveway. Guess I got some photography experience points. Questions: I definitely want to sue these pricks if I have to shell out for 200 plus miles of Uber rides. Will I have a case? Is there anything else I should do? Thanks. Appreciate the advice I received anyway. I tried the fire department, but they said it'd be a while before someone gets here because this is not an emergency. And yeah guys, let me know in the comments, how would you handle the situation if someone parked in your driveway and you really had to leave for an emergency? Let me know. The truck is not blocking a hydrant or anything, so I get it. Edit: the clock ran out and I've gotten an Uber coming to get me. Edit number 2: I'm officially en route to the wedding in an Uber. The homeowner / their soon-to-be former landlord is going to swing by this afternoon to make sure the truck is gone, and he's promised to make sure my driveway is clear by the time I get home, one way or the other. Update: I'm just gonna call the neighbor's landlord Bob because the neighbor's landlord or the homeowner creates some awkward sentences. Bob texted me shortly after I got to the hotel yesterday to let me know that he had tracked down the neighbors. So he followed up to confirm that the truck had been moved while I was at the wedding, and I just got home to an unobstructed driveway. So I'm actually heading right back up there because my wife and I took a few days off from work to do some hiking in the area. She was in the bridal party and all of the bridesmaids had been up there since Friday. So Bob wants to cover my expenses himself and then see if he can figure out a way to get reimbursed from the security deposit. I'm gonna decline this offer because I know NY is a very tenant-friendly state, so it seems like Bob's plan could end with this soon-to-be previous tenants putting him over a barrel. I'm not gonna go into detail, but he's a great guy who only started renting his house out because of a crappy situation he found himself in a couple of years ago. I would feel terrible if he wound up in another crappy situation by going out of his way to make things right for me when that shouldn't be his responsibility in the first place. Some of yesterday's righteous indignation has faded and I'm starting to think it might be a good idea to forget about the money. It was not enough to have an impact on my budget anyway, and letting it go would allow me to wash my hands of these a-holes altogether. I'm gonna put it out of my mind for the time being and focus on enjoying the mini vacation that my wife and I have planned. Thanks again for all of the advice. And yeah guys, I'm curious, if you would have been in this situation, would you have acted the same as OP? Let me know in the comments. Update number 2, so it turns out the Crabhead family didn't do a particularly good job of planning their move. Their lease actually ended on 15th September and Bob had already given them 2-week-long extensions without charging any additional rent. Bob did not do this out of the goodness of his heart. He won't be moving back into the house until mid-November at the earliest and decided to take the path of least resistance so he could wash his hands of these people with minimal conflict. The crapheads asked Bob for another extension last night. Apparently, a bunch of their furniture did not fit in the U-Haul and they won't be able to pick it up for another 2 weeks or so. Bob then told them that this won't be a problem as long as they reimburse me for the Ubers, which caused a bit of a temper tantrum, but they ultimately agreed to it. I had actually decided that I was gonna let the whole thing go because, much like Bob, I just wanted to be done with these a-holes with minimal conflict, and my wife and I are still upstate until tomorrow morning, and according to Bob, the crapheads will be en route to their new place by the time we get home. Probably stating the obvious here, but I'm more than happy with the way things turned out. Some people in the Best of forum had some very kind things to say about my response to this situation, and I appreciate those comments very much. That said though, I know that choosing to forget about $500 in order to avoid a headache is not an option for everyone, and my wife and I are very aware of how fortunate we are to be able to make that type of decision in the first place. She suggested that we should figure out a way to take a pay-it-forward approach now that we are going to be reimbursed, and I'm 100% on board with that. We are currently leaning towards donating to a rent assistance or eviction prevention fund. I'm also definitely taking Bob out to dinner or something as soon as he's moved back and settled in. Once again, thanks for all of the advice and the kind words. And before we continue to the title story, please don't forget to like the video because that would help me tremendously, and reaching 1000 plus likes would be absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for your support. So this story is from r/Legaladvice and it is titled, "I just got home to find a car parked on my driveway, plugged into my car charger. What can I do, and should I talk to the police?" So as the title says, I'm just back from a weekend away, and when we got home we found a car on our driveway plugged into our car charger. And by the way guys, it seems like UK people like to say drive instead of driveway. Anyway, the outside gates have been opened to allow access, and the car seems to have been there for less than an hour and is on about 8% according to the charger. I've switched the charger off at the wall, so no more free electricity for them, and their charger cable is now locked to the box, default behavior when there's no power. I've also locked the gates shut. Do I report this to the police as theft, and what will they do? I know if they wanna leave, I must release the gates. I've locked them to make sure they don't try to drive off. Can I leave the power off on the charger and hold the charging cable to ransom, assuming they can disconnect when there's no power? And by the way guys, this story happened in the UK in Cambridge. Also, if this would have happened to you, that someone plugged their cable into your charger and essentially stole your electricity, what would you have done? Let me know in the comments. Either way, update, I don't know if this is allowed on this thread, but as so many people have DM'd me for an update, here it is. So the car was still there when I left for work this morning, and according to the 2 cameras, the owner returned at about 23:50, but after checking the locked gate and the charger, left without ringing the doorbell. I then got a call this morning from my neighbors telling me that someone was using a cutting tool on the gate and that they had called the police. I went home and found the police, my neighbor, and the car's owner on my driveway. This guy was in his 50s and seemed to be some sort of businessman. He told the police he had been staying at the hotel just around the corner and that one of the hotel staff had told him that there was a charger in my driveway he could use. Our house was empty for 6 months prior to us moving in, so perhaps they had been using it for guests for some time. Well, the owner was very upset that I'd locked them in, but the police kept everything calm. On inspection, they had already damaged the charger to retrieve their cable, and even though they denied this, it was clear from the dog cam footage that they did it. They had also damaged the gate quite badly while trying to open it. Upshot is that they were arrested for criminal damages to the gate and charger, and the police are arranging for their car to be removed as it has no charge, so it cannot be driven off. I'm off to have a serious conversation with this hotel manager and chase up the new charger as ours is now broken. Final update to the story. Right, this saga has finally come to a proper conclusion and I thought you'd all want to hear how it ended. So first, the hotel conversation. It went much better than expected actually. The manager was genuinely horrified when I explained what happened and showed him the damaged photos. It turns out that the staff member who told our businessman about the charger was new and had completely misunderstood everything. They thought I was still offering public charging like some other houses do. The hotel has agreed to cover the full cost of replacing the charger and repairing the gate. They've also updated their staff training and sent a proper apology letter. Update on our friend from the arrest. He appeared in magistrate's court, he got a £600 fine and was ordered to pay £200 compensation, which the hotel is handling anyway. His solicitor tried the miscommunication angle, but the magistrates were not having it, especially after seeing the footage of him cutting through the gate. Bit of karma though, apparently his car's charging port got damaged when he forced the cable out, and it's gonna cost him nearly £400 to fix. The police also impounded his vehicle until he could arrange recovery, which cost him another £150. The new charger gets installed Tuesday, this time with proper RFID security. The gate's getting reinforced and a decent lock that cannot be cut with basic tools. Thanks again for all the messages and advice. Sometimes these situations actually work out properly in the end. And the next one is a story from r/advice, and it is titled How Do I? Can I tell my sister that she cannot name her baby daughter Lolita? So my sister, 37 female, is not the most well-read person. She gave birth to a baby girl yesterday. She's got 2 boys already and has wanted a girl for a long time, and she has just told me that they are naming her Lolita. I don't know how to process this or how to tell her that this is not a good, cute or edgy name. We don't have the closest relationship and I'm her older sister and childless by choice. She often thinks that I'm boring or a stick in the mud. I worry that anything I say will just be eye-rolled at or make her stick to the name even harder. Now some of OP's comments. Someone asked, does sister know about the name and its connotations? OP answered, I don't know, but I'm making the sweeping assumption that she hasn't read it or watched the movie, but knows of the Lolita fashion/style. I genuinely don't even know how to bring it up or if I should just leave her to it. And yeah guys, let me know in the comments what you think about this one. Do you think OP should intervene or not? Someone else asked, don't tell her why, just ask her nicely to Google the name and decide for herself. OP, the problem is that she's very proud and always thinks that everyone is judging her, even if they are literally just trying to help her. So even if presented with evidence, she will either refuse to read it or say that she doesn't care. I've tried to be as kind but clear as I can without sounding judgmental or like I think she's not smart. Update, I've written her a message outlining my concerns. Hey love, I'm so happy and excited for you and the new little one. I want you to know that I love and support you and that I'll always be there for you. This message is not meant to shame or hurt you, but I want you to be making as informed a decision as possible. I wasn't aware of all of the history of Lolita myself, so I looked it up and asked some advice of others better read than me. I wanted to share some thoughts on the name, not to tell you what to do, but just to make sure that you have all the information. While it is a beautiful sounding name, Lolita carries some really strong and often unpleasant connotations. As I'm sure you're already aware, it's the title and the name of the 12-year-old girl in Nabokov's book and films. And then basically OP explained what the book is about and the term etc, but I'm not sure that I should mention that on YouTube. So I know how much thought you're putting into this, and ultimately I will love and support you and your baby no matter what name you choose, but I just wanted to make sure you were aware of these associations as they are pretty ingrained in pop culture and beyond. Let me know if you want to talk about it, and if this is your final decision, then I'll say no more and will support your decision. Folks have reminded me that she'll be hormonal, exhausted and emotional at this point, so I'm not gonna send it to her till she is settled back home from hospital. I don't want to overwhelm her with a wall of text, but I think text is the best option so she can read back through it if she needs. I genuinely love and care for her, and if this is a thought-through decision, then I will support her in it. I just really want to make sure that she has all the info she can get. She is both hot-headed and strong-willed, so I'm afraid that if I push, she will stick to her choice through thorough stubbornness rather than a real love for the name, so any advice on the wording is appreciated. Final update, I sent her that message and got back gifts that say, "No one asked your opinion," and "I'm searching for Fs to give," and was told that she doesn't give 2 shinies what I think, so I guess little Lolita is on her own. Some of OP's comments, someone asked, "Why is your sister such a stoop and you seem normal? Did you grow up together? How do you get to be a whole 37 years and think Lolita is a good idea? I don't get it. You sure she's not just effing with you?" I keep trying to picture a 6-year-old named Lolita showing up for 1st grade. Her teachers are gonna cringe. Send your sister this thread. OP answered, "I was so tempted to send her this threat in anger, but strike while the iron is cold and all that. We had a tough childhood, interesting parents. I've done like 10 years of therapy at this point and she is still in the 'you don't need therapy, just go for a run' mindset." Another person commented, "The fact that you told her all that and she doesn't care? That is disgusting. That poor child. She clearly shouldn't have kids with that attitude, because how can anyone read that and still want to name their child that? It is disturbing. I would legit not trust her and even stop talking to her, but this is kind of a big deal. I'm sorry that may seem extreme, but how can she be so flippant on something so serious? I'm disgusted for real." OP answered, "I'm taking a break from her for a bit for both of our sanity, but I want to make sure that I'm there for the kids if they ever need an auntie." And the next one is titled Revenge Done Right. When I first left home to go to university, my parents co-signed a mortgage for me on an apartment-style condo in a small Canadian city. This was 20 years ago, so it came in at a whopping $52,000. They thought that this was a much better and economical choice than trying to find an apartment and deal with landlords. I loved the idea and moved into my new home. The building was almost entirely populated by the 65+ crowd. It was small and only had 24 units split into 2 halves. I had a basement condo. It was a nice place, nothing fancy, but amazing for a student. I was young, 19, but I was quiet, kept to myself, and did not do the whole party thing. I got along with most of my neighbors. I would help them out moving heavy things or carrying groceries upstairs. I was acutely aware of the age gap and the general image of an university student, so I made sure to just be an all-around great guy to avoid conflict. The one person I could never see eye to eye with was my upstairs neighbor. For a 70-year-old woman that couldn't have weighed more than 100 pounds, she walked like a damn elephant. She would have gospel music on her TV at max volume at 5 AM on Sundays, and she would make remarks about "that damn kid" whenever something was left out of place. She even went so far as to accusing me of breaking into her car and making a police statement saying she saw me do it. Unfortunately for her, I was out of the country on an internship at the time, but she still persisted being a pain in my rear. I tried to approach her about the TV issue, and her response was to make sure that it was no longer just Sunday. After a couple of years of attempted diplomacy, it was clear that nothing I did would make things better. Others in the building probably knew she had it out for me, and why would this adorable little old lady try to lie and get me thrown out of the building by the condo board? By the way, she tried at least 11 times while I lived there. 7 years into my time living there, I was at my job with an ambulance service just north of the city. I got called to a shooting. The guy shot his neighbor in a land dispute. The neighbor survived, but there was of course gonna be a police investigation. The investigating officers called me to get a statement and offered to just come over to do it rather than have me travel. One of them was a constable I had worked with quite a bit, so I said sure. We set a time for about an hour after I would get home from work. I was just getting out of the shower when they buzzed to get into the building. I said, "Come in, I'll be out in a second." I hit the door buzzer and quickly grabbed some pants and a shirt. I heard them come in and then walk upstairs. As I'm trying to throw on clothes, I hear them knock on my upstairs neighbor's door. They introduced themselves as being from RCMP, Major Crime Division, and that they were looking for me. Balls. She says, "Oh, he lives downstairs. What do you want with him?" They thanked her and informed her that they couldn't say as it was an active investigation. My heart sank, but then I had a thought. It only took about 15 minutes to do my statement and they went on their way. And then the fun began. I knew the rumor mill would be starting. She would tell everyone that would listen that Major Crimes was looking for me and that I must be some sort of criminal. I decided to see where this went. Pretty soon, I'm getting side-eye in the hallway. Neighbors are steering clear of me, so I know she's been talking. Turns out I've been arrested for robbery and kidnapping and must be out on bail, according to her. I found this out when one of my neighbors who was on the condo board showed up with a letter demanding an explanation and threats to have me kicked out. I asked him what this was all about and he said, well, Linda, not her name, sent us a letter about what had happened and we had to have an emergency board meeting because people don't feel safe with you here. I said that per the bylaws of the condo board, before any action could be taken, I could request a meeting to review and provide a defense. Linda was on the board, so I knew that she had been there. They set a date for a week from then, but I was given a caution that it didn't look good for me and that I would have to do a lot of explaining. The meeting day comes, Linda is sitting smugly looking at me, the other board members are giving me dirty looks. The board president asks what I have to say in my defense. I stand and quietly distribute a letter on RCMP letterhead signed by the regional superintendent that says, Mr. Sen medic is not under suspicion of any crimes, past or current, and has not been arrested, detained or questioned as a suspect in any criminal matter. His duties as a paramedic will often require him to make statements in regards to ongoing investigations, and in this instance, on date, investigators had gone to obtain a statement about an ongoing investigation for which he was professionally involved. At no time did the members discuss, disclose or in any way indicate that he had any involvement in any wrongdoings. I'm deeply saddened by the necessity of this letter, and we will be reopening an investigation into a previous incident regarding false statements made against him. You could tell when people read and understood it. The dirty looks shifted from me to Linda. She exclaimed that it must be a forgery. She witnessed me being led off in handcuffs. She pleaded that they should believe her. It did not help her. I stood and addressed the board and outlined the years of abuse and harassment, including the false accusations of breaking and entering to a vehicle. I informed the board that on advice of my lawyer, I don't discuss the matter further with any member of the board, as Linda being part of it and using her position for the purposes of harassment, opened the board as a whole to litigation, and I was still weighing my options. The next day I had a knock on my door. The board president had informed me that Linda was removed from the board and that she was given warning about her conduct and that any further harassment could result in proceedings to have her removed from the building. She also had a visit from police with a summons for providing a false statement and obstructing a peace officer. She then had to attend court. She pled guilty to both and was given a suspended sentence and 1-year condition not to harass, threaten or intentionally inconvenience me in any way. If she abided by her conditions, she would receive an absolute discharge, meaning it would be removed from her record like it never happened. I moved to another province before her year was up, but for a brief period of time, I actually got to sleep in on Sunday mornings. And the next one is an Am I the A-hole story. So for the past week, my wife and I had been anticipating a baseball game for which we had purchased tickets. We like baseball, but we don't attend many games, so traveling into the city to see games is a rare treat. I know that it would take time to drive there and find parking due to traffic though. Because the game started at 7 PM and we live about 45 minutes from the stadium, I told her this morning that she needed to be ready to get in the car and go by 6 PM. Well, my wife is an avid gamer, so she was engrossed in her latest video game when the clock struck 5:45 PM. She has struggled to plan in the past, and I get tired of reminding her that she needs to budget time to get ready. It is as if she has no concept of time at all, similar to a young child. Well, I was ready to go by 6 PM and she was in the bathroom. I saw this as an opportunity to teach her personal responsibility, so I simply left the house without saying a word, got in the car and started driving to the game. It took my wife a few minutes to figure out what I had done, but when she called me, she was absolutely furious. She said that it was a completely unacceptable move for me to leave without telling her and that she now had no way to get to the game without paying for parking. I told her that I got tired of constantly waiting for her and that she should plan better next time if she didn't want to get left behind. I also reminded her that I had told her that morning when I expected her to be ready to leave. Absolutely none of this seemed to matter though, and she rudely hung up on me after yelling out more insults. Frankly, I think it's completely insane that a grown woman is unable to budget her time, and I'm starting to suspect that she is doing this on purpose because she is a narcissist who expects me to accommodate her. After all, she's not a stupid woman, she has a science degree. And well, she never showed up to the stadium and I didn't hear from her the whole game, but when I got home there was a note on the door. She told me that I was not welcome in the bedroom and that I should sleep on the couch. I cannot believe she wants to be this much of a pill. And by the way, Ripe Stars, I've never heard that expression before. What does it mean to be a pill? Not sure. Anyway, if I'd waited for her, I would have missed the first pitch. I made my expectations clear and she couldn't be bothered to meet them. I feel like she should be the one apologizing to me. Am I the a-hole? And yeah, Ripe Stars, let me know in the comments what you think about this. Is OP the a-hole or not? A first comment on Reddit said, "You are the a-hole. You waited until she was in the bathroom and could not see you to leave to teach her a lesson while she was actively getting ready and nearly done by your timeline of just a couple minutes to notice you were gone. You are infantilizing her and she was literally just a couple minutes behind you. She is not the pill here. You are a whole entire chore." Comment number 2, everyone sucks here, you should have at least said you were leaving, you are however insane, want a divorce or have a death wish. And before we end the video, we will read one last story from r/petty revenge. It is titled, "Sorry, it is not in my job description." So several years ago, I worked a sales job that I hated. I was brand new, barely given any training, like half a day to learn how to operate their system. One of my coworkers who sat next to me was one of the top sales reps in the department. The purpose of sitting a newbie and someone like her together was so the noob learns. But teaching junior reps is technically not in her job description. That leads me to a day that I have a potential sale on the phone and I got stuck on product knowledge due to my newness. I asked her a simple yes/no question and she tells me, "Sorry, it's not in my job description to help you." I ended up trying to find someone else for help, and by the time I got the answer, the prospect already hung up. Shortly afterwards, I left that company and found my footing where I currently have been nearly the last decade. So we got a new sales rep on our team last week, and guess who it is? She knows who I am too. A few minutes ago, she just asked me a product-related question, and I said those same exact words back to her with a huge smirk on my face. Sorry, it is not in my job description. Ha, finally. Justice is mine. She lost a sale because of the same reason I lost mine to top it off. My boss is probably gonna talk to me about this later, but I don't care. And yeah guys, thank you for watching. Please check out my playlist on the left if you cannot get enough of my stories, and I will see you again tomorrow.